Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm excited because we're going to tackle a topic that's, well, somewhat taboo here in America. I feel like maybe just by searching up this video, I might be put on a list or something. I might be being watched. Understanding democratic socialism. Now, I have some kind of a grasp on what socialism is. What democratic socialism is, I couldn't really tell you. And if it's different than social democracy, I definitely don't know that. I might never figure that out. But I'm at least going to watch this video, Understanding Democratic Socialism, which I think a lot of political parties or government structures in Europe would classify as democratic socialism, maybe. I think. I don't know. But I definitely need to watch this video by act.tv. Go check them out, link down below.
No term is misused in American politics more than the word socialism. Liberals use it to describe countries like Norway and Denmark, while conservatives use it as a slur to criticize things like minimum wage.
Yeah, it definitely used to be more of like a naughty word, you know. I think it's slowly changing. And obviously the younger and younger people you ask. Now that may be because times seem to just be getting rougher and rougher for future generations, to where no one can even buy a home. So it's like, oh yeah, socialism sounds pretty good about now. No one can afford healthcare, education, a home, childcare. Socialism doesn't sound so bad now.
Increases and Medicare for all. Fox News once even used it to criticize billionaire investor Warren Buffett when he publicly supported raising taxes on the very wealthy.
Warren Buffett wrote an op-ed. Is he completely a socialist?
Is Warren Buffett a socialist? Weird question. That'd be kind of ironic.
Is Warren Buffett a socialist? You really have no clue what socialism is, do you?
Unfortunately, most Americans have no clue what socialism is either.
Now I'm starting to question, what exactly defines socialism? I think of socialism being any type of government-funded, whether it's healthcare, education, you know, like the fire department, I kind of think of as being a socialist system. Anything the government provides to the people. But maybe that's too broad, because that would make any government social or partly socialist. I don't know exactly where you draw the line. Like, here, this is socialism and this isn't.
Either. And they definitely don't know how democratic socialism fits into the whole picture. Even though traditional definitions of socialism don't actually fit the current political narrative.
There definitely used to be this conception that it was the same as communism. You know, people use those words interchangeably.
In the US, let's take a look at where these terms came from. Historically speaking, socialism was seen as somewhat of a halfway point between capitalism and communism. Under this spectrum, democratic socialism fits somewhere in between capitalism and socialism.
Oh, really?
And the policies that Bernie Sanders and AOC are proposing, things like Medicare for all and free college, would fall somewhere between capitalism and democratic socialism, an area...
Okay, but wouldn't free college just be straight up socialism? Or at least something like that's, I don't know.
That analysts typically call social democracy. So what do all these terms mean?
There we go, social democracy. That's this word. Got it. Let me hear what he said just right there.
College would fall somewhere between capitalism and democratic socialism, an area that analysts typically call social democracy. So what do all these terms mean? Capitalism is all about letting the free market generate unlimited profits for corporations and individuals. The downside of capitalism is that when it's unregulated, it leads to things like child labor, contaminated air and water, and the concentration of wealth in the hands of very few. Communism is about creating a classless society with absolute equality, where the government dictates the price, supply, and distribution of goods. The downside of communism is that the only practical way to redistribute wealth with absolute equality is by force. So these governments usually end up becoming authoritarian regimes. Socialism arose as an attempt to merge the best parts of capitalism with the best parts of communism.
There we go. I was just curious what it said here. Some free market systems, some type of control over major industries.
Traditional definition of socialism basically says that there should be some free market systems to determine supply and demand of products, but that the government should own the country's major industries.
Yeah, because once you start controlling all prices or trying to manipulate prices, you'll find it results in a lot of shortages, famines type of situations.
So that the people can benefit from most of the wealth. The downside to socialism is that it's very vulnerable to corruption. If the people running the traditional socialist system are corrupt, then these types of socialist governments will also skew towards authoritarianism.
It does seem, now that he says that, I mean, it's like if any government system is corrupt, it just doesn't work. Whether it's socialism, communism, a capitalist society, it doesn't work if you have corrupt people running the show. Now, capitalism works a little bit more because the people in charge have less power. So they can't reach their corrupt hands as deep. But what would really be great is if we could find a way to just fix all corruption. How do you do that? Now that sounds impossible.
So what about democratic socialism? Democratic socialists still believe in social ownership of major industries, either through the government or through worker alliances. But they reject two main aspects of
a worker alliance is that different than a union?
Either through the government or through worker alliances. But they reject two main aspects of traditional socialism. One, they sharply reject any type of undemocratic or authoritarian system. And two, they reject the Soviet-style planned economies, where the government determined the price and supply of goods. There's a lot of debate about what exactly democratic socialism entails.
So far, I'm kind of liking this idea.
But in essence, democratic socialists believe that workers should enjoy a larger share of the profits that they are helping to generate. They also believe that strong social safety nets are essential for the stability and long-term growth of society. It's interesting to note that America's most famous self-described democratic socialist, Bernie Sanders, is opposed to the idea that the government should own the country's major industries, which in economic terms are called the means of production.
So the next time that you hear me attacked as a socialist, remember this. I don't believe government should take over, the groceries.
I liked Bernie. I even if you don't agree with all his policies, I just like him as a person. You know what I mean? It was a breath of fresh air to see Bernie up there debating.
Store down.
You guys might not. I don't know. Do people outside the U.S. watch the presidential debates at all? Or let alone the primary debates? Maybe, I'm sure y'all catch up on some highlights when Trump is debating and stuff. I mean, that's just comical. So, of course, I'm sure they play some of those highlights, but when Bernie was debating in the primaries last time, that was good times.
On the street, or own the means of production.
But he's too damn old now.
But I do believe that the middle class and the working families of this country who produce the wealth of this country deserve a decent standard of living and that their incomes should go up, not down.
When looking at the policies that Bernie Sanders is proposing, things like an increasing minimum wage, Medicare for all...
I do think of Bernie Sanders as being like the type of politician here in the United States that, like, it's as if he was transported from Europe. You know what I mean? Like, his policies... I wonder how they would stack against in, like, a European country or typical... I mean, of course, there's a wide range of European countries. I guess, let's say the UK or something. I wonder how Bernie would be seen. He might be seen as conservative. I don't know.
All and
no, I don't think so.
Free college education, most analysts agree that these ideas fall in line with the successful policies of the Nordic countries, where they call themselves social democracies. Social democracies are basically capitalist systems with really strong social safety nets. So what can you do? It's important to look at the actual policies that each candidate is proposing and not just the words they're throwing around. For example, just because North Korea calls...
And then even just because they're saying something doesn't mean they're... That's the crazy thing. You can say anything when you're running for election, but then you don't actually have to do it. I feel like that should be a crime. You should have to do or try to do what you say in the election.
Itself a democratic republic, and the rapper Dr. Dre calls himself a doctor, does not mean that North Korea is anything close to a democracy, nor should you seek medical advice from Dr. Dre. Also, let's remember that most countries in the world have mixed economies, and none of them fit neatly into one economic block. The word
That's
socialism has basically lost all practical meaning in political discourse, so it's ultimately up to us to determine what it means based on who is using it and the policies that they are supporting. Peace.
Well, okay. So that clarified some things, but also clarified that it's not a hard line. It's no two people would agree exactly on where the line is between, oh, this is a capitalist country, this is a socialist country. So that's interesting. So it both clarified things and clarified that things are not clarifiable. That was fun. I mean, I love stuff like that. I love to learn. I know I'm a strange American. Love to learn. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I'll see you guys tomorrow.